Hello, Dragon Slayers. We are joined today by Sharon Linen Fordham. Sharon is a most remarkable person. I had an opportunity to interview her yesterday, and what I would say about her, which is really inspiring, is her genius at adapting. Sharon strikes me at the 99th percentile of one of the most adaptive people I've had the honor to meet. So, Sharon, tell us your story. One of the things I should say about her is I came to her coincident to my awareness of her writing children's books. And Sharon writes children's books targeted to help kids cope with all sorts of trauma, targeting the question of how do kids learn to cope with abuse, bullying, the challenges that kids have inevitably had to confront. Sharon, could you tell us about your journey? How did you become the person you are now?
It has been quite the journey, and the reason why I began writing children's books is because of the experiences that I've had as a childhood. Each topic in my book series actually address an issue that I personally have experienced, and I understand the long-term negative impact that dealing with things like bullying, low self-esteem, self-confidence issues. Living in a home during my early childhood years in a single parent home, I understand how those things can affect children and follow them throughout their adulthood, just like it did myself. I had the opportunity to work with children for about 9 years in the Charleston County school system. And I came face to face with children who had suffered from issues just like I have. And there's a pattern. So, what my intention is to help prevent children from an early age to from dealing with the issues that they have faced as a child, such as bullying, low self-esteem, things of that nature. So that's how I got inspired to writing the books. I've got to do something to help children cope with these issues because of the long-term negative impact it could have on your life.
How did you come to realize that you had this gift to write about these things?
I didn't even know I had the gift. Like I said, I guess I was just inspired by knowing what I've gone through, and like I said, seeing what other children had been going through, and realize the suffering. And this it is a real issue out there. Like I said, I didn't know that I could write the book, but one thing I did realize when the children came to my office, because I work in the disciplinary area of the school, they were able to relate to me and I was able to relate to them. We would converse about issues that they were facing at home and, in society as a whole. And I realized that because they were able to relate to me and I was able to help them in that way, well, why not try to write about it and address these situations? Because these were high school children that I had conversations with. But why not address these issues early on to prevent this? Because it does follow you from childhood, a small child, to teenage into adulthood. So why not address these situations early on? So that's what inspired me to begin writing the children's book. And that is when I realized, like, hey, I have something to offer here.
One of the things I was impressed with in our dialogue yesterday is that you are a very accessible person. And I wonder if you were, as a consequence of who you are, able to learn from kids the kinds of traumatic experiences that they were willing to share with you that they might not have been willing to share with other adults.
Absolutely. I learned that one thing you do have to do, what I did is I created an environment where the children felt comfortable and safe uh, and confident enough they felt, and I get emotional when I talk about this, but Some children feel as though they have no one to talk to at home, that they cannot speak to their own very own parents or close family members, and they feel better speaking to a stranger. So I was glad that I was able to create that environment where they could open up because they were vulnerable. They allowed themselves um, to be vulnerable in my presence. So I don't know. I would just want to be able to do my part in helping children as much as I possibly can because it is traumatic. This is just my small contributive effort to make a difference in society.
Well, you obviously have. Uh, as we spoke yesterday, in my experience, many victims of abuse are not able to share that experience with responsible caretakers. And often, the caretaker in question might not accept the child's perception of abuse.
That's exactly right.
So it takes someone such as yourself to reach out and listen to the child. Now, how in your books, whether it be inappropriate touching or bullying or the kinds of abuse that kids are often exposed to, emotional abuse comes to mind as a often kids are emotionally abused. They're neglected or they are treated as if they're wrong. Their basic assumption in life is that I grew up wrong. Uh, what is the message you're trying to give the child? Let's say the child who's been victimized by bullying. What does the book tell us about that?
In particular, Billy the Bully. In society, the knee jerk reaction is to attack the child who is the aggressor. And we do that without understanding why that child is a bully, if you will, or the aggressor. We fail to look into the fact that this child is probably acting out because of situations happening in their own lives. So they in this situation we have the child who's the aggressor and the child who is on the receiving end of bullying. We have two victims here.
Right.
And that is what Billy the Bully. Go ahead.
No, no, I'm with you. The bully himself is often victimized by abuse.
Absolutely. And the main takeaway from Billy the Bully is sometimes bullies are victims too. That is the main takeaway. We have to look at both sides because if we can tackle this issue with the child who is the aggressor, if we can tackle those issues early on, we won't have the problem of bullying in society because we can do whatever we can to help this child and change that path, and therefore it affects everything that goes forward from that point.
Excellent. The other thing I want to understand in your personal history is uh, you impress me in our already and today and yesterday as an extraordinarily successful person, and you don't identify yourself as a victim. You've transformed yourself.
I've transformed myself, and I tell you what, it took a lot of time, a lot of years. And one thing that I've learned to practice is I do these self concept affirmations where I speak goodness on myself. I'm smart. I am beautiful. I am brave. All of these various things. And in fact, one of my books, ABC Inspiration, is as a matter of fact, I have a copy of it right here. This book is does not only teach children the ABCs, of course, the alphabet, but each letter represents a positive affirmation. Like B is for believing, L is for love, and it tells the child that you are loved, that you can. C is for can, you can do it. It's all positive affirmations in those books. And that is what helped me to get through this. I still battle, believe it or not, because I said it is a long term negative impact. And it's something that I wrestle with. But learning to journal, I love writing, journaling. Writing is cathartic for me. It helps to release energy, and it makes me feel good. And I wanted to apply that to my reasoning for helping children. You know, if I love to write, why not write about something that will help children who experience things that I have experienced? So I no longer see myself as a victim. I don't have that victim mindset anymore. You can overcome it, yet it takes quite some time. A child is not able to understand and process the way that I can as an adult. So that is why I try to tackle those issues early on so they won't even have to go through what I had gone.
I'm struck by the synchronicity between how we approach the problem. As you know, I've been writing about and working with patients who've been victims of trauma. I consider that something that is a special interest of mine. And it takes someone to inspire the victim to take that leap and say, I have within me heroic potential. I need to channel that heroic potential. And often it becomes teaching the victim to become the benevolent parent of themselves and then say, okay,
Absolutely.
and then that's where the affirmations come in. Say, okay, I have my own set and I have my patients develop their own 7 affirmations. How are they going to begin the morning?
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, mine
They work.
oh yeah, mine is I'm the best my awareness permits. I seek greater awareness. I seek kindness in my life. I will use my power in behalf of goodness. I am a healer, and I will heal myself as well as heal others. I wish to inspire others. I'm an athlete. I will channel that athletic core in me as I pursue challenges. It's like if you've ever run a marathon, it's an endurance and you've got to work at it and finish well. So all of these things fuel my own existence. I have become who I am because of that laser focus on who I have the potential to become. But the funny thing is, occasionally, this often happens after I receive an award or something like this. What happens to me is soon after the accolades pile on, I have a dream. And the dream is that I'm back in medical school and I'm on the fourth floor of this particular medical school building taking my examination. But I'm apart from all my classmates. My classmates are on the floor below. And I complete the examination. I'm about to hand it in, and then discovered I'm nude. I have no clothes, which of course is a wonderful representation of fraudulence, right? You're just faking it. If anybody knew who the vulnerable little boy was inside of you, they never would recognize who you could be, right?
Exactly. That's awesome. But self talk is so important, you know, and I'm so glad that I came across that. Someone in my professional life introduced me to affirmations, things like that. So I thought, hey, I'll give it a try, you know, and I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference in the way you see yourself and life in general, your outlook. It really does make a difference.
Well, I'd like to get back to your personal story, which I found very inspiring. You finished high school, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as I recall, one of your jobs was as a paralegal. Is that correct?
Yes, I worked for four attorneys for about 8 years.
And
And then
go ahead.
I decided to go into the education, into the school system because my children were small at the time. And I always wanted to do, because it's so very important for me to be there for my kids when they needed me. And so when they were small, I sought employment into the preschools, so in the daycares, the preschools, because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there with my kids. As they got older, then I sought employment with the public school system, just because if they're out of school during the summer months, I wanted to be out of school during the summer months. My presence was always important for me to being there for my kids because, like I said, the first 11 years of my life, I grew up in a single parent home. My mom was my mother and father until she married my stepfather, and this is the only time I would ever say stepfather because he is my dad, my a wonderful man, but I always wanted to be there for my kids because for some time I was the mom and dad for my children. So I always made myself available to them. But anyway, I say that to say this. I ended up with the Charleston, the public school system, and worked. I was employed there until my children were of age. They're big enough now; they can take care of themselves. So now I can do what I really want to do. I got into real estate. I was a realtor for quite some time until the downturn of uh, 2008, I think it was, when the housing market crashed and everything, so yes. And a girlfriend of mine introduced me to my current employer right now. Actually, I work with the automotive industry right now as a machinist, and I chrome plate. I always tell people, oh, I chrome plate components for diesel injectors, and they think, oh, that is so cool. But so anyway, that's how I ended up there. And to be honest, I've been there for almost 20 years now. And I love the job. I love the people that I work with. But even during that time, even while I'm working there, I'm writing books because that is really my passion, writing books. I wrote most of my children's book while at work. So now they hear about this. I don't know how my boss will feel about that, but during my spare time, any little spare time, I would write books because it is and has always been my passion since I learned that I had this gift to use it to help children.
Certainly beats smoke breaks, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, it does. So that's my story.
Well, it's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself with our audience. Those of you out there, I encourage you to read Sharon's books. And if you have not already read it, try Dragon Slaying, a book about helping people make heroic transformations such as you made yourself. But you did it without my help or without my book. So, but you incorporated many of the principles that I write about in the book, such as self-parenting, self-compassion, affirmations, channeling your inner athlete. All of that is core to our successes. It's a bit of a postscript for our audience. For those of you who wish to access Sharon's books, they are available on Amazon.
They could also, yes, and they could also access my books from my website, addyb123.com. That's ADDYBEE123.com. They'll actually have an opportunity to hear free samples because my books do come in both audio and print formats as well. As well as we also have some titles that are also in Spanish as well.
Wonderful.
So just go to my website. Go ahead.
Well, that's great. And if people wish to access Dragon Slaying, you can get that on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. In fact, according to Norman, I am available at Barnes and Noble in Times Square, New York. So all of those are out there. Well, once again, I do look forward to further dialogue, and you have been a most delightful guest, and I hope this is the beginning of a very meaningful friendship. Okay?
Absolutely. Same here.
All right. Be well.
Thank you for having me on. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.